It is actually a difficult topic to mention, which will not allow us to get more votes. But today we have an issue related to LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. I actually don't understand the exact definition of these terms because some of the concepts seems to me to partially cover the other concepts. Anyway, the world trend today is to increase their rights, and Japan also has this tendency. In Japan, in terms of the constitution, some revision is needed to officially recognize marriage between the same sexes. But at the level of local ordinance, cities like Shibuya Ward or Minato Ward, they recognize same-sex marriage. People in the media think this should be applied to all of Japan because it is now the world trend. Now, our politicians are not confident enough to refute this. Once, some conservative magazine tried to object against this tendency, but was forced to be discontinued. No freedom of opinion is usually allowed on this topic. I myself also think that we should protect minorities' rights and avoid any kind of witch hunt. From a greater viewpoint, we need to reflect again if there is truly no problem with this issue. As our space people readings have revealed, there are planets where people have three kinds of sexes, masculine, feminine, and middle. And on the other hand, there are planets of monosex, where people always reincarnate into the same sex. So we know that several possibilities exist. But even so, on this earth, the basic idea is that we reincarnate into two distinct sexes so that people can have richer life experiences through a relative situation. This is the basic direction of our planet. I want to clearly state this. Some exceptions do exist, but it is a problem if today's trend considers exceptional situations as a normal thing. If doctors or judges think they can decide if someone is a man or woman because that person feels so inside of themselves, this can't really be easily proven and is a little bit arrogant to do so. Even as a religious person, I cannot easily say if someone's mind is that of a man or a woman. Our teachings clearly revealed that through reincarnation, a man can be reborn as a woman as a man, or some people always reincarnate in the same sex. So we know that a person who is born this time as a woman could have had a past life as a man and vice versa. We know that in such cases, a female spirit can be inside of a man's body, or a male spirit inside of a woman's body, which means that they can feel some tendencies of the opposite sex inside themselves. So we will not discriminate against these people. But it is also necessary to know why a man can be born as a woman, and why a woman can be born as a man. Our earthly life doesn't last more than 30,000 days. So you should think that you need to do what is expected of you within your given sex, and discover yourself as you are. You have received such an order from God. Even though this example doesn't exist in Japan now, in some Islamic countries, women are attacked if they go to school and treated as slaves or property. Men who do such things need to be reborn as women in their next life, and they aren't permitted to change their sex in this lifetime. They need to live as women until the end of their earthly lives to understand what the feelings of being treated as a slave are and what they imposed upon women in their past life. After returning to the other world, they will discover all the bad things they did in the past. This is one of the reasons for being born as a man or a woman. Therefore, we shouldn't judge everything only from what is happening in this earthly life. It is true that there are people who should be considered as an exception. But if you think that it is something quite natural, you will commit a mistake by arrogance. God teaches humans to accomplish their role as a man or woman in order to go through soul training in this world. People must live as their sex, but should always make efforts to avoid discrimination, give chances to women, and let men reflect on themselves if their behavior becomes excessive. So we need to have a certain amount of restraint with such tendencies. It is said that 1 in 13 people belong to the LGBT community, and this percentage will only increase. But this tendency can be caused by some influences people received after their birth. And I would like to add one more thing from the religious point of view. Besides the cases of people whose sex in their past life was different from their current sex, we also need to consider about spiritual possession. In actuality, a man can be possessed by a female spirit and a woman by a male spirit, and they can come to believe that they are the sex of the spirit possessing them. So the reality is much more complicated than what doctors or judges can imagine. This is what I would like to say. I say this because this will have some impact on our country's future. Amaterasu O Mikami, in her spiritual message, said that her opinion is that the differences of the two sexes must be clearly separated. This sexual distinction is only a matter of this earthly life. After returning to the other world, we will become a spirit. A spirit no longer has the functions of the physical body, but he or she will keep their name and sex as their identity until his or her next reincarnation. To create such a personality is the meaning of this lifetime. So please have the proper understanding about the mechanism of reincarnation. Perhaps some of you felt hurt hearing what I have said about this issue, but this tendency shouldn't become the majority. As a conservative religion, we need to restrain this LGBT trend.